Thank you all for joining us today for BEC Presents. As we do every year, we discuss the legal ramifications in our industry. This next episode deals with COVID and how it will affect us both corporately and in your individual businesses. We hope you enjoy.
Okay, so we're ready for the episode. Brian Carroll's going to take you through everything, and he's going to talk about different challenges. He's going to talk about the vaccine policies. He's going to talk about employment, risk-averse management, you name it, he's going to cover it. That's the challenges you have to worry about, the things that keep you up at night. What keeps me up at night is I'm going to run these steps. And so you guys, while you're watching those challenges, my challenge is going to the top up there.
Simple answer is we don't have a lot of guidance yet because we haven't had the government tell us. I can tell you a lot of my clients are what I would call strongly encouraging all of their employees to get vaccinated. It's not to the point where they're mandating you have to bring in a vaccination card. Part of what complicates that is like in my own personal, I'm a very fortunate guy. I'm a relatively healthy 40-something male. I can't get the vaccine. It's simply not available to me yet, which is going to be true for a lot of our workforces. These are people that are relatively healthy individuals that are not classified as high risk. They simply can't get the vaccine yet. And so creating a policy that says you will do this, but the product's not there yet. And so we've got to have some work through that. But again, it's an area of uncertainty that there's not a lot of guidance. And that's again where a group like NGA and ASA are so proactive, because these groups are monitoring that on the federal side, looking for the guidance when it comes out, whether it's through the Bureau of Health, through OSHA, or any of these other organizations that are putting out guidance, that are pushing it to our members and the people in the industry to give them that at least federal guidance as it comes out. But it just simply doesn't exist yet today, and we don't have a bright line answer. We all have to accept as an industry, whether it's construction or whatever, that work from home may occur again for some reason, whether it's the next weather event, the next pandemic, or whatever it may be. And how do you do that? And that again ties into the cybersecurity piece of the IT piece of this. How do we protect our data, that we've got good links to our office, and to keep the information that we deal with, which is important. It's proprietary. You know, the way you bid, your estimates, your banking records, all of that type of information is safe. You know, and again, you know, we deal with those things, but I think work from home is here to stay. The second part of that question is returning to the office, you know, of how do we begin to restart the back office side of things up on a go forward basis. I was on a call earlier this morning with a bunch of engineers, you know, and it's challenging to work from home. When you're used to being in the office as an estimator and you've got big monitors and sophisticated tools, you don't have those at home necessarily. You know, so efficiency has been impacted. And on a company by company and a role by role basis, we need to look at what those things are and take the opportunities that we have to be more robust in our ability to work from home, because we've got to be prepared that it can happen again. Cybersecurity we used to think of as something, well, someone's going to hack in, maybe it's ransomware on our software, but cybersecurity issues have gotten more nuanced and concerning. For an example, I have a client of mine, a specialty contractor, was submitting paid invoices upstream to a prime. They got a very professional looking email matched with a phone call, no less, that says, hey, we've changed the way we're doing things, and we need your banking account because we're going to start wiring funds to you. And so my guys, being very, you know, reasonable, said, well, here's my banking account information, etc. What we didn't realize is it was what's called a man-in-the-middle attack, that a hacker had posed as a employee of the prime contractor, had stepped in center to the point where they accepted phone calls with an American accented individual that purported to be on the staff, and then intercepted their pay applications and then stole the money. You know, over $1 million was stolen from the general contractor that never reached the subcontractor. That's something, again, if you had asked me 2 years ago, was the stuff of fiction. You know, so we've got to be much more sophisticated on our cybersecurity of how we operate. because it affects every aspect of what you do, from getting viruses in your system to literally, do you get paid at the end of the day? What will the next problem in the cybersecurity world look like? Again, we understand ransomware, we understand viruses. Now today that you each understand the man in the middle attack is probably something that would have come as a surprise to you. But what's next, in that? And in our businesses, whether it's something as simple as having no access to your payroll or something more critical as your design files are corrupted and what you buy and pre-order material for isn't right on the project site, of how do we put all those pieces together with what we're working with to keep a tight control of our cybersecurity? And that's something that will only increasingly get more complicated and more critical as we go forward. What keeps me up is what I don't know, I don't know. If I know of a risk, I can help people plan for the risk in the things that we deal with. If we back up in time to February 2020, if someone asked me, what's the probability a major pandemic would hit the United States, I would have told you 0. Now that's something I know, and we've developed strategies for dealing with that. Likewise, if you had asked me, I being a Texan, would Texas be subject to sub-zero temperatures for a week, I would have laughed at you. And so now that's something that's very much on my mind because it's something I know. But the things that really keep me up are what I don't know, we don't know. And as part of that, it becomes a balancing part of risk, of the severity of the event occurring versus the probability of the event occurring, and trying to balance those two things. We all know in operating our businesses, being a glazing industry or any type of subcontractor, you can only prepare and do so much with the resources you have. It's critical that you have a risk management plan for your company. It starts with the senior leadership. It flows to your project manager. It's driven by very quick moving vertical communication in your companies. And it also expands outside of your companies. Quality insurance provider that provides you adequate coverage in the proper amounts at prices you can afford. And it deals with outside, or if you're large enough, internal counsel to helping you, as I said colloquially, worry so you don't have to worry and you can focus on running your business. How do we start something we've never done before? The first thing we can do is talk to your colleagues. Maybe they have something in place. The second thing is you can come to somebody like me, who's an outside risk management professional, if you will, as a construction lawyer, and talk about what that brings to the table. The third way we can do it is your insurance programs. Many insurance carriers will actually come in and help you start to build the framework of a risk management program, because it's in their best interest to help you avoid risk because there's less claims. And so those are all pieces of the puzzle when you're starting from scratch you can start with. And it's an incremental process. We're going to start with baby steps in the process. We can't eat the elephant whole in one bite, but maybe we're going to focus on job site safety is the first part of our risk management plan we're going to focus on. Then maybe we move to, contracting risk concerns, and we begin to expand that out into the various areas that we can move forward, because you can't do it in a day. You're 100% spot on that, but you've got to start. You've got to start building that shield, if you will, and that wall around your company to help you avoid and mitigate those risks when they occur.
Okay. I'll loosen it down. All right, we still got a little bit more to go with Brian Carroll. He's still got more to cover. Let's go back to him and wrap up construction in the age of COVID-19.
Across the nation, we are struggling to get qualified, capable labor to do the available work. Every indication we're seeing is under the new administration, there will continue to be heavy construction practice that's going on. But where do we get qualified labor that we can bring onto the job sites and qualify with all of the legal requirements that are placed upon us? The second thing, and this goes back in time, is the quality of the design documents. I can pick on engineers because I was an engineer in the first part of my career. There is a trend of that, well, if we can draw it in AutoCAD or CAD of any type, that you, the contractor, should just be able to magically build it. We see specs getting copied all the time because it's very easy to open a Microsoft Word document, copy, paste, find, change the names, and push that out. That's not conducive to us building quality projects in the field. And that's a major change. And candidly, the trend is getting worse as it goes forward, it's not getting better. So how do we as subcontractors, particularly glazing contractors, prepare ourselves to deal with that with the resources we have? From an estimating standpoint, in contracts, you're being asked to take on more risk, that you'll perform to the necessary intent of the design documents is a common phrase we'll hear. Well, what does that really mean? Unfortunately, I can't tell you. And that becomes, again, a worry for me because I don't know what I don't know. We seek to get more clarity in our contracting documents to allow you, the glazing subcontractor, to properly do what you say you'll do. I tell people all the time, good fences make good neighbors, and the first fence in the contracting world is your contract. We want a clear, fair document to allow us to move forward in a relationship to accomplish the goal of the project. Finish a quality project for an owner that we can then not have maintenance obligations hopefully on, and move on to the next one that we can point to as an example of the quality work that the glazing industry in the United States can produce. The first thing we look at is the relationship. How many times have you worked for this contractor? Is this someone that you know? Do you have a level of trust? And it starts there. I tell people all the time, I don't care what the contract says as long as people get along, because it's not going to matter. It's when the job goes into the ditch that the contract becomes exceptionally important. So building those relationships there. The second thing the relationship lets you have is the dialogue, with the contractors that you chose to work for. Many, whether it's the mom and pop or it's the biggest glazing contractors in the industry, have people they like to work for. And building that relationship. Maybe it's through a master services agreement. So instead of having to negotiate it every time, we do it once. And that minimizes the cost of having that negotiated out. And then we know when we get a work order, it's scope, schedule, price. All things that you inherently understand in the industry going forward on that. The second part of that goes to, of the education piece. What can you do yourself? How much can you learn, again, not being a lawyer or a contracting specialist, but learn to read the document and to appreciate the risk that the documents are there. The third part of that is groups like this. Educate yourself from your peers. Who are contractors that your peers like to work for? And target those as people that will do your work for in your business, whether you're the mom and pop or you're the biggest in the glazing industry, because you've got less risk working for those people, because they're going to meet you with that relationship you've built with them from a fair and a level standpoint. Well, first off is force majeure. The COVID-19 instance, we're starting to see those cases coming forward in the industry about who's responsible. Is a pandemic a force majeure event? Again, there's some difference in the case law that's out there. Some courts have held that a pandemic is not a force majeure event. But what we do know from the case law is that it tells us you need to look to the contract first. Where again, it's key in your contracts is pandemic listed as one of the elements of a force majeure event to get there. Following that, when that's not successful, is it a differing site condition? Is the enhanced PPE requirements on the site something that could be classified under your differing site conditions clauses? Again, we don't know for certain because those cases are advancing through the court system, but over the next 18 to 36 months, we'll have some answers to those questions. As we go forward, which will hopefully prepare us better for the next time something like that occurs, but take the steps now. Look at those things that are available to you and how do they affect the contracts you sign today and the contracts you sign tomorrow. Think ahead, be proactive. That's something I will stress to you always. Be proactive, not reactive in what we do. Casualty loss. Casualty loss we look at as a sense of fire, flood, things that builders risk would typically be covering. But because of these extended nature of the projects, we're seeing more and more aggressive casualty risk clauses being pushed down. That you as the glazing contractor will protect your work from all damage, from all causes, from all reasons for the duration of the project. Even though now that's a longer project that you're being asked to protect your work and to be required to pay for it if it's damaged. We're seeing now language that, the general contractor will be the sole decider of conflicts in the plans and specs, that you'll be asked to perform to the highest and best quality of the intent of the project. That the determination of those are not subject to appeal or challenge. Again, presents huge risk for you as a contractor, in the industry as to what does that mean? How do you price that risk? You as a glazing contractor believe you're providing X product. The architect wanted Y product and it's not clear, or it was clear to you, but it's not clear to the architect. And now they want you to perform for something different. we're seeing lots more of that type of conflicts and fighting begin moving forward. We all know that there is a component of legislation that drives what we do in the industry, whether it's the amount of money that's publicly available for public works, whether it's money and credits for job training, whether it's research and development to advance our industry, whether it's tariffs on the products we choose to bring into the country to build our work. All of that is important. And I strongly encourage you to look at your partner organizations. NGA and the American Subcontractors, for instance, have partnered together, and they have an active lobby program that's made significant strides on various things, as well as being active in the courts to protect your rights as glazing professionals to prompt payment, to timely payment, to waivers of no damages for delay clause, in addition for advocacy of funding and the things that involves, and putting money and resources to actually bring that forward.
Thank you for watching this episode of BEC Presents. Hope you enjoyed it. We look forward to seeing you next year in person in Nashville, and also seeing you in person this fall in Atlanta for Glass Build America. Thank you much. See you next time.